This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Manny Navarro, and our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report. How you feeling, baby? You feeling good?
Feeling great, spring football's almost wrapped up. I was out there yesterday to talk to a few of the defensive assistants. It's when it's valuable to go meet the new guys and stuff, and just excited that recruiting is going to start picking up here. So there'll be some news hopefully soon.
What can you tell us from the practices? Because I don't know what you're allowed to say.
Yeah, well, I'm not allowed to watch a whole lot. None of the reporters are. I think we get like 10, 15 minutes usually in the morning while they're kind of going through individual drills. So we don't watch any 11 on 11 or any 7-7. But I think from a improvement perspective, you start to see some of the new players that are there, more size, bigger, more physical players that they've recruited here the last couple of years, and then you start to see, from talking to the coaches, talking to Jason Taylor yesterday, you get to see some of the changes that Mario made with the coaching staff, the enthusiasm. They're a lot younger coaching staff now, four assistants under 40 on this staff. So you start to see a little bit of the change with this group. But, the real news will be picking up here in terms of transfer window when that opens up April 15th. And then some of these commitments. Hopefully Miami lands their quarterback tomorrow, Aaron Noland.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are they competing with Air Norland? Who else is wanting Air Norland?
Yes, Mr. Air Norland, or Air Noland, as Mr. Prentice Noland. Miami's main competition is Texas A&M and Ohio State. Those are the main schools that I think if you were to ask Air, who's really in it for him, I think those are the three schools: Miami, Texas A&M, and Ohio State. I think Clemson's also there on the outside looking in, and he'll make his decision tomorrow night, 8:45. He's going to announce it 8:45 Eastern. And it's a big domino for Miami, because if he doesn't pick them, I mean, look, he's a top 10 quarterback in the 2024 class. Miami's only got one commitment right now, who's a kicker. If he doesn't pick them, then you kind of go to plan B. And I don't know that you maybe get as much of a great sort of kickoff to the recruiting season. Miami needs him to get that elite quarterback. Everybody wants an elite quarterback in each of the recruiting classes. It helps recruit other kids. I think if Miami's able to get him, then it's a good sort of kickoff to the second season of Mario Cristobal and his recruiting cycle.
What's your gut tell you?
I really don't know, because this kid's played it pretty close to the vest. I think he went to Ohio State last week. He visited Alabama a couple of days after that. He said a lot of great things about Texas A&M and Miami. If I were him and I were in his shoes, I'd go to Ohio State. I mean, that's a program that's better set up. You have so many elite receivers there. You have Brian Hartline recruiting the hell out of the receiver position. You're in a conference you can win every single year. If you're the number one guy there, and I don't know that Ohio State really has a great quarterback right now on its roster that's going to necessarily be quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years. I think if I were him, I'd probably go there. But I hope for the Hurricanes' sake and Miami fans' sake that he picks Miami, because I really think that could spur some big momentum for Mario in this recruiting class that's coming up.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere a day or two ago that whoever was that writer, he kind of felt Ohio State was the one that was going to get him. I think he wrote like 90% he thinks Ohio State's getting him.
Yeah, I think there's been some quote unquote crystal ball projections for him to go to pick Ohio State. Some of the national pundits. But I think the reality is, like I said, I think this kid has played it pretty close to the vest. I know when I spoke to him, I've spoken to him twice in the last few months. Both times I got the impression he really likes Bobby Petrino at Texas A&M. I think he there's a connection there with him. But I also think Miami has a very good shot, because I think he looks at the roster. He knows Tyler Van Dyke's going to be leaving after this season, and he's probably confident he can go in there and compete for a starting job right away. And he's super talented, brings a different dynamic. He's kind of a mix of both Jakari Brown and Emory Williams, in the sense that he's more accurate, but he can also still run the football and be exceptional in that part of the game. So I think I think there's also a real affinity for Miami. So we will see. I haven't spoken to him since his trip to Ohio State, so I haven't been able to figure out his tone. But from what some of my colleagues at The Athletic said, it seems like Ohio State's pretty confident they're going to get him.
He says, "I know where I'm going."
Yeah,
That's his. That's
exactly.
his. That's his famous quote in the Athletic.
That's
That
correct.
I know where I'm going. So yeah, unfortunately. All right, Zaquan Patterson. Talk to me about the 4-star safety. What's the deal? What's the latest?
Yeah, kid out of Chaminade, one of the local products that, you look at Miami, another big physical kid. Chaminade's a school that has a lot of guys that Miami's interested. Both of those receivers that I've mentioned quite a bit, JoJo Trader and Jeremiah Smith. And so he's another one of those guys there. I think Zaquan is a guy that Miami would love to get. They'd love to sort of if you attacked one school this this cycle, it would be Hollywood Chaminade. Try to get as many of those guys. I know Mario's working to fix things with relationships there with some of the coaches. I know they were a little upset with Miami in the past year. They had a couple of their former kids there that had to transfer out. They weren't getting a lot of playing time. So I think, in terms of the coaching staff and the relationship with the school, I think that's something they're working on. But overall, I think those kids are considering Miami. I think Miami's got a real shot to get all of those kids, but they got to win on the field. I think the results this season are really going to matter for Mara. I think last year there was a lot of understanding. There were a lot of kids who came in and were in attendance for that 45-3 beat down by Florida State, and they sort of looked the other way and they didn't have that affect their decision. I think this year the 2024 kids are really going to look to see what Miami does with this new coaching staff and if they start to take a step forward on the field and start winning more games.
Jason Taylor, talk to me a little bit. Tell us what his role is. What are the responsibilities he has on with the program nowadays with the new role?
Yeah, I mean he and Joe Salavea are basically co-defensive line coaches, which it shouldn't really surprise us anymore in college football with the importance of the improved play on the offensive and defensive line that you have specialists. Last year, Miami had 2 defensive line coaches. Rod Wright was splitting the duties with Salavea, but ultimately, my understanding is Jason basically leads the room in most of the meetings. Joe Salavea is the assistant head coach. He kind of I think it feeds intel between what's going on there to Mario. There's a lot of communication in that sort of regard. But I think Jason's impact is to help Miami on the recruiting trail, to help them land some of these elite 4 and 5-star guys that they want. Last year, I thought Miami really addressed the offensive line needs. They got 2 5-star offensive tackles. They went out in the transfer portal. They brought in 2 elite college starters. I think this year the plan is to upgrade the defensive line room and improve that vastly. And Jason Taylor's a big part of that. I think anytime you're a recruit and you can sit down and be taught by an NFL Hall of Famer, I think that's super attractive. And so and for Jason, it's interesting because when he first got into coaching at St. Thomas Aquinas, we've seen a lot of Pro Bowl and NFL guys coach at the high school level, right? Because their kids are involved and they want to coach their kids. This has really turned into a passion for Jason. I think he really enjoys the coaching aspect of it, the same way Dion does, in terms of just being around kids, being in the locker room, having an influence on their lives. And I think yesterday, you kind of got a taste of Jason and why he's doing this. I mean, his sons are playing in other places. Mason's a star over at LSU, a tight end as a freshman. If you remember the Alabama game last year, he's the kid who had the winning 2-point conversion. So, for him, obviously, you think, okay, maybe he joins a college staff where he's coaching his kids, but that's not what it is for him. I think he really wants to do this and be a head coach one day.
That's interesting. When it comes to recruiting, by the way, I would imagine that the moms really look forward to his visit.
I'm sure that they do. I'm sure the moms are very awestruck, and even the dads, right? I mean, the dads probably want, hey, can you sign this for me? Can you take this
Probably.
picture, right? Look who I'm friends with, man.
Yep.
I think all of that plays a factor. But right now he loves it, and I think the one thing I will say from talking to somebody who's close to him, I think last year was sort of a rough first year in college in the sense where he didn't like some of the chemistry behind the scenes with Miami. Now that he's actually coaching on the field, I think this is more enjoyable for him. He was an analyst, didn't really get his fingers dirty, couldn't really coach the way he wanted to. Now he's really involved in it, from having to call recruits to being in meeting rooms, breaking down film, being much more involved than he was a year ago. So I think this is more of what he was looking for.
How much of a force is he in recruiting? Because I joke around, obviously, with his good looks, walking into homes and moms
Right.
will probably be drooling. But seriously, what kind of a force is he in recruiting?
It's hard to tell because this is his first real cycle, and he hasn't signed anybody yet. Right? Miami hasn't gone out and gotten anybody with him being the lead recruiter. But I certainly think, look, Miami did a good job at the end of last year picking up a couple of defensive linemen. They stole this kid Collins Achimpong. Out of Africa, he's an African kid who was going to go play at Michigan, and they kind of stole him late. He's another big-bodied, 6'7", 250-pound, 260-pound guy. And I'm sure if he doesn't get the inkling that Jason Taylor is going to be his coach, he probably doesn't pick Miami. He probably doesn't come here. And so I think there was an influence in that decision, and as well as potentially a few others. Miami's in on David Stone, who's one of the best defensive linemen in the country. He visited here on back-to-back weekends recently during spring football. And I think Miami's in it ultimately because that kid got to know Jason Taylor, knows his resume, and knows, hey, if I go to Miami, not only will I probably get a really good NIL deal, but I'll get coached by an NFL Hall of Famer. And I think you need to have both of those things. John Ruiz's money can only take you so far. I think you need to have the full thing. And kids want to be coached by the best. They want to have really unique experiences, and Miami presents that with Jason Taylor on staff.
By the way, one of our listeners here, Emilio Hernandez, says, my wife called to schedule a visit from JT, and we don't even have a son in college.
Yeah, man. He's got that kind of charm. I'm sure.
I'm just saying, I'm not surprised. Not surprised.
Not at
Women
all.
over. Yeah, no, come on over and recruit. Well, there's no kid here. Yeah, who needs a kid? We'll produce one with Jason. That's kind of what's happening. I think that's what's going on. See that now I know what's going on. Mario has set Jason off to go produce defensive linemen for the future. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
It'll take about 18 years for the cycle to start, but in 18 years from now, we're going to have multiple Jason Taylors just joining,
Yeah, and Mario will be 70 right at that point, and
right?
yeah, he'll be happy to take him then.
Exactly. I'll be retired. I'll just be watching from a distance. 18 years from now, you still working, Sean? He says yes. Oh, God.
Yep.
I'm hoping there's still places to work in 18 years for us, Big O. I'm hoping there's still some places we can find work.
Well, I'm hoping I'm not doing shit in 18 years, bro.
We make our own, Manny. We make our
Seriously,
own.
bro.
That's true.
I'm 56, bro. 18 years from now, that's 74, bro. I want to just hang, bro.
Yeah,
If I hit 70, I gotta hang.
I'll be 62, and my girls hopefully will be in college, and there'll be somebody else's problem.
Yeah, you're winding down.
Yeah,
by 70, bro, I need to get the hell out of the rat race. I gotta get out, bro. I gotta get out. But anyway, all right. What do you got going on over at the Athletic this weekend, my friend?
Well, obviously, look, there's a spring football game next week, so I'm going to do sort of a spring football summary, what we can take away from this spring. That'll be coming out next week. In terms of Miami, we'll find out where Aaron Nolan is going. Like I said, tomorrow night at 8:45. Hopefully, that's a Miami thing, and I'm writing a Miami story, not a Texas A&M or an Ohio State story. And then look, there's a ton. I'm going to be recording a podcast. The Wide Right Pod. We're working on different projects. I'm going to be writing about the ACC quarterback rooms, so that way everybody gets an idea of what's going on in conference at the quarterback position. A ton of stuff. Florida Recruiting Notebook. There's a ton of content there. Oh, and this week I became a full-time member of the Stars Matter podcast for The Athletic, which is our national recruiting podcast. So if you want to check out what I've got to say on that, and as well as Ari Wasserman and Grace Rayner and Mitch Light, my editor, the four of us are going to be on there every week doing a podcast, about an hour long, just covering all the big stories in recruiting. And so that's part of my new responsibilities as one of the national guys.
There you go. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Manny, as always, appreciate you, my brother. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up next week.
All right. Good talking to you, brother. Take care.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Manny Navarro. As always, don't forget Caneswear, 2511 South University Drive in Davie. They have practically anything and everything with the Canes logo on it, man. You're going to love it. Brett, Jeff, all the amazing people out there. They do a great job. They've got Dolphins gear, Marlins gear, Panthers gear, Inter Miami gear, and what else? Miami Heat, Florida Panthers, Canes, Dolphins, Inter. I think that's everything, right? Yeah. Every local team, they've got it there. They've got all kinds of stuff, but they are loaded. I mean, they've got like 100 different types of T-shirts. They've got Canes jerseys. They've got sneakers and sandals and hats and keychains and pens and pencils and
Barbecue cookware.
I mean, everything, an apron, everything, bro. They got it all there, practically anything. They got lights and all kinds of stuff that you can hang in your bar with the Canes logo on it. I mean, it really is impressive, the amount of things that they've got there with a Canes logo on it. 2511 South University Drive in Davie. If you can't drive to Davie because it's too far from you, go to caneswear.com. You can order it all online. Jeff and the guys and the ladies, they get it shipped right away. Like that same day that you order, they're shipping it practically right away, man. It's pretty awesome. And when you order over $99, you will get free shipping. Caneswear.com.
If you're
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.